Welcome to another cheeky sales coach video. Today, I'm not going to present the video, but my friend Paul Green from Paul Green's Marketing is going to present the video. And Paul Green's Marketing is exactly the way it sounds, paulgreensmarketing.com, even though he's in the UK. Paul is a marketing specialist who focuses on the IT industry, but he's got some great tips for you no matter what industry you're in. And now here's my friend, Paul Green.
So lots of people who are involved in B2B sales and actually physically go and do sales meetings with people believe that the success or the failure of your sales operation absolutely comes down to your performance in the room, your ability to engage with someone and ask the right questions and work them towards a yes. And I know there are lots of training courses that you can do and lots of brilliant sales techniques that you can apply. In my view, what I think you should be focusing as much time on is not just what's actually happening in the room, but what you do with the prospect before you meet with them, and also what you do with the prospect after you've met with them. So essentially, we're looking here at how you can maximize your sales by focusing on getting everything right beforehand, obviously having a great sales meeting, which you can find in other videos, but then what happens afterwards. Now, there's 2 or 3 key things I think that must happen before. And the first of those is to confirm the appointment properly. So let's say you've had a chat with someone on the phone or maybe an email exchange, however it is, you have agreed that you're going to go and see them at whatever venue on whatever day and whatever time. And the inclination from that then is to perhaps do an email just to confirm that. Well, I believe you need to confirm that meeting in a number of different ways to make it really important to them. So the first thing I would do is, yes, of course, send an email. I would also do a calendar invite. Now, these days, a lot of people hit the yes button when they get a calendar invite and it automatically adds it to their calendar. If your sales meeting isn't in their calendar, then they are not going to be available when you turn up for them. So getting it into their calendar is critical. Not everyone, but most people these days use some kind of online calendar. So send them a calendar invite and send them an email. You know what else you could do? You could also post a letter to them confirming the appointment. So yes, that's a third method of confirming with them, but there's nothing wrong with that because if they've added it to their calendar, they've read the email, and then a couple of days later, a physical papery letter turns up and it's there and it's in their hands, it's going to make them A, double check that it's in their calendar properly, and B, they're going to take the meeting much more seriously because the more commitment that you put into something, the more commitment they are likely to put into it as well. Now, here's something else that you could send to them. Because if you're going to go to the hassle and the bother of physically posting them a sales letter, why don't you send them something else? For example, you could send them a book of social proof. Now, what is social proof? Well, it's a phrase which was first coined by Dr. Robert Cialdini in his 1984 book. It's called Influence, the Psychology of Persuasion. And of course, we're used to the term social proof now. We hear it all the time. What it actually means is testimonials, reviews, and case studies. It's where other people talk about their experience with your business. And the reason that this is so powerful, the reason that social proof was in a psychology book, it's the psychology of marketing, but the reason it was in that 30 odd years ago is because social proof actually leverages some very basic programming we have in our heads and in our hearts. Because we today have exactly the same programming that we had when we were cave dwellers 100,000 years ago. And part of that mentality was that most people, most of the time, prefer to do what most other people are doing. If you're in a hotel lobby and you see 30 people running really fast towards the exit, you don't kind of sit there and think, oh, I wonder if something's going on. It's pretty obvious to you that something bad is going on, so you want to get out of the lobby. And so you, without knowing why those people are running, you're more likely to join those people. This is what makes testimonials, reviews, and case studies so powerful. We can see that other people have bought from you. And therefore, that makes you a safer entity. If other people have bought from you and have had a positive experience, then that makes you a safer entity. So what I would do is I would get some case studies built. I would actually start with some video case studies. Hire a professional videographer to interview your clients, just 2 or 3 of them. It doesn't need to be lots. And get them to talk about their experience with your business. And any videographer worth their fee will know exactly the questions to ask. Some nice open questions about their experience and whether or not they'd recommend or how they would recommend you to their friends, and get them to talk about all the positive things. Now you can then edit that into a 90-second, perhaps a 2-minute testimonial video or a case study video. The difference between a testimonial and a case study is a testimonial is just someone talking about the good experience they've had with you, whereas a case study is a story. So it kind of sets up where they were before they talked to you, the problems they had, you poke the pain of the problem, and then you move on to the solution, which is what you do, and then of course the happy ending that they had, the happy outcome as a result of hiring you to do whatever you do for them. Now, a case study is always going to be more powerful than a testimonial. Obviously, it needs a little bit more finesse and time, but if you can get 1 or 2 case studies, get those on video. Now, once you've got them on video, you could actually email the YouTube links of those videos to your prospects. So remember, we were going to email them to confirm the meeting. In there, you could add in those YouTube videos. You can then take those videos, get them transcribed, and have them put into a physical book. So I would put together a case studies book. And remember, I said you should physically post out a letter. That case study book should go in with that letter that you send it. And you would say to them, hey, if you get a chance before we meet, please can you read this book, or please can you watch these videos? In fact, let me just grab a prop. There is a great book which you should read about this. It's called They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan, which is it's about content marketing. But one of the things that Marcus Sheridan mentions towards the end, is this exact process, where for his businesses, if he's sending salespeople out, in fact, he won't let the salespeople actually go out to the meeting unless the prospect has confirmed that they've watched the video or read the book or whatever it is that he wants them to do. So this is not just my suggestion. This is it's in a book, and it's in a really, really good book. It's a book that's very much worth you getting. So those are the main kind of marketing things before you go out and see someone. There are 2 non-marketing things which stack the odds in your favor. One of them is to research the company, and research. I've had field sales teams out on the road before, and the higher performers always did more research than the lower performers. So yes, they'd read their website, but then they'd Google the company name. They'd look at the directors on LinkedIn. They'd look at the updates they're sharing. They'd try and connect to them on Facebook. They'd look at what they're sharing on their Facebook. They'd look at what they're doing on Twitter. It's really easy these days to research a company and what it's been up to. Look at their press releases, look at their media coverage. Just Google them, but don't just look at the first 3 things. Look at 2 to 3 pages worth of Google. You can go and have a look on Street View and have a look at their premises, and you can learn so much about a prospect just by looking at the outside of their building. If it's tired and needs a clean and needs some refreshing, that tells you everything you need to know about, or a lot about, the business. So there's all sorts of research, and I think the more research you can do, the better. There's also a whole series of other prep things. When I used to have field sales teams out on the road, I would make sure, for example, they had to carry a second suit in their car, because if they're having a coffee, at some point they're going to spill it down themselves. So if they've got a second suit, it's not a problem. I would make them carry at least 2 sat-navs. Now, these days you'd use your phone, but if you need an external device and your phone, because what if your external device went down and your phone ran out of battery and you couldn't charge it? So you need 2 sat-navs. They need to have 2 or 3 routes. You can't just rely on your sat-nav. You need to know where they're going. They need to know where the parking is. I always made my teams used to fill in a prep sheet. So they would have to show where they were going to park and where their alternative parking was. And also, if it was a 2-hour journey, I would make sure they left 3 hours before. I want them getting there relaxed, plenty of time, so if there is a mistake with the traffic or a problem, or there's a problem with the parking, they've got somewhere extra to go, they've got some extra time, and they've got all these extra things set up. So all of that kind of stuff, which experienced salespeople kind of forget to do over time, it's really worth doing. And having something as simple as asking your salespeople to fill in a prep sheet before they go to show you what research they've done, what they've learned, the fact that they've planned their route, they've got their parking. This is what good field salespeople should be doing. So all of that is before the appointment. Now, after the appointment is just as important, and far too many salespeople do an appointment, they then go away and they'll put a proposal in or whatever you do in your system, and there's then no agreed follow-up. So it then becomes a bit of a cat and mouse game of the salesperson's calling the prospect's not taking their call, the salesperson's thinking, well, are they avoiding me or are they just busy? I don't want to ring that, I don't want to be that guy that rings 5 times in a week, and it's all very, very difficult. So there's a number of things that I suggest you do. 3 things, in fact. The first one is, let's say you have to put a proposal in. So you should put that proposal in as fast as possible. So if you meet them at lunchtime today, your proposal should be on their email by 5 o'clock tonight. Because let's be honest, when you're putting proposal together, it's just a version of the same document, right? In fact, you might even use software. There's plenty of good proposal software platforms out there that can put a proposal together for you. But what you've got to do is, because you've got to assume they're seeing 3 or 4 of your competitors. And you've got to be as fast as you possibly can. And getting that proposal into them in the next few hours is critical. What you should also do, though, is print off that proposal and send it to them with a box of stuff. We'll talk about the box of stuff in a second. Now, the reason you print it off and send it to them, and you might even courier it to them so it's there the next morning, the reason you do that is the email proposal is great for instant gratification. However, we want them to have something that they look at again and again and again. And that's where printed stuff works best. If you could see my desk here, I have piles of printed stuff that people have sent me. And it's because there's so little printed stuff gets sent out these days that when someone does that, it's really, really does have some standout ability to it. Now, when you do both your email proposal and your printed version, one other critical thing is you must put a photo of you on that proposal, because they have sat in a room with you, but also they've sat in a room with 3 or 4 other people, and they can't remember company names or people's names or anything like that. They shouldn't have to. But what they will remember is how you made them feel. They will have a feeling in their heart based on your face. And hopefully it's a good feeling. Hopefully you made them feel very positive and that your business could be the answer when you met with them. So you absolutely want an up-to-date photo of you on both your email and your printed proposal. Now, the printed proposal I suggested that you send with a box of stuff. We call this an impact box. It's also known as a shock and awe box. And you don't just send them the proposal, you send them some stuff. So that might be more case studies. It might be a book that you've written or even just articles that you've had printed, but kind of like a collection of stuff which helps with your authority and helps to show that you guys know what you're doing. You can also send them some merch, some merchandise, even if it's just a mug or a pen or something like that. Don't go too over the top on merchandise. But what I suggest you put in the impact box as well is some candy, some sweets, some chocolates. In fact, as part of your sales process, wouldn't it be cool if you had a question where you found out what their favorite candy bar was? And you found out that this guy loves the Snickers and this guy loves the Babe Ruth. And so, you get some of those and you just put 2 or 3 of each of those into the impact box. Now, just doing that, which costs you a few dollars, it's not a huge amount of money, but just doing that shows, even at this stage, you are paying attention to them, that you're special. Something as simple as putting their favorite candy bar in an impact box with your proposal, with some other authority materials, you are literally stacking the odds in your favor here. It's absolutely wonderful. And then there's the final thing I'm going to suggest, and this eliminates the problem I was talking about earlier, where salespeople are chasing prospects all the time. There is no chasing. You have a scheduled follow-up time. So you say to your person at the end of the meeting, you say, great, I've got all the information I need here. Thank you very much. I'm going to email you a proposal tonight. I'm also going to print it off and send it to you. How long do you need to look through that proposal and to discuss it with the number of colleagues you need to discuss it with? And they might say a week. And you say, great, I'm going to call you in 8 days' time. So 8 days from today is this date. Grab your diary now. What's the best time for me to call you? So you actually get them to schedule in your diary a call with you. It's a follow-up call. And you say to them, the purpose of that call is to answer any questions that you have and to get your decision, or to start your onboarding, to be a bit more positive about it. And of course, when you send them the proposal and the box of stuff, maybe there's a letter in there as well that reconfirms that you'll be ringing them on this date at this time to answer their questions and to get them started. And essentially, there's no chasing now. You have a scheduled follow-up, which is really clever. So it isn't just to recap, it isn't just all about what happens in the room on the day. There's so much that you can do before and so much that you can do afterwards to absolutely stack the odds in your favor.
Thanks for tuning into this Cheeky Sales Coach video. Please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a thing. Call to action. Like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you won't miss a thing.